Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you are here. So today we're doing a book haul. It has been quite a while since I've done one, and I was trying to find all of my books for this and I just couldn't remember. Like, some of them I feel like I've had for a while, but I haven't shown you. So I decided it was time, and that's what we're doing today. So I have a lot of books to talk about. Let's get started. So the first book, not a new release at all, but that is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This book has been incredibly popular everywhere. I actually had purchased this on Pango. I had a few months ago read the first few pages in the store and thought it sounded adorable. So it's gotten rave reviews, and I'm not, usually a romance reader, but it sounded like it had enough substance that, like, I would like it. Not to say that romances don't have substance, there's plenty of them, but enough for me to enjoy, because I don't like just strictly romance books. The next one I got is Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Chismar, and I read a book of his recently, Memorials, and I really enjoyed it. So I actually was able to get from the publisher, Gallery Books, thank you to them, the sequel to this, which is called Becoming the Boogeyman. Unfortunately, when I got it, I didn't realize it was a sequel to this. So luckily I was able to find this at Goodwill, and so that was exciting because I only paid $2 for it, and now I can actually read the series and not be missing a lot of the plot. The next book I also got at Goodwill, and that is The Most Dangerous Place on Earth by Lindsay Lee Johnson. So I've never heard of this book. I think it came out in like 2017, so you might have heard of it, I don't know. But it's basically a high school kind of drama. And then, so it's just about several different high school students that kind of, go in different groups, different like cliques. And then and they're all very wealthy. And then this teacher comes in who is from like a poor neighborhood and, doesn't, I guess, understand the dynamics of high school. I don't know. I think that's kind of what it's about. But I like stories about rich people and their drama. So even if they're teenagers, I think I'm gonna like this. The next book was so kindly sent to me by Putnam Books, and that is The Unbecoming of Margaret Wolfe. This one really appealed to me because it's set in, I think, the 50s, something like that. And it's about a woman who is married to this man, Wesley, who is gay, but it's the 50s, so they just married each other because they need to basically, it looks better that way. And so they get invited to go participate in this Shakespeare festival in New Mexico, and I guess they both kind of start to have feelings for the director. And so it's all about this tangled affair and how this all kind of plays out. And I don't know, it sounded really interesting and cool to me. And I like reading about, kind of like the mid 1900s. So I think that I will enjoy this, and also the cover is really cool. The next one I got at Half Price Books, and it is called The Man with Two Arms by Billy Lombardo. So if you've been here a while, you know my baseball obsession. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, I'm interested, I'm sold. So this is about a man who is like just obsessed with baseball, and he makes his son sort of become a pitcher, but able to throw with both arms, which I don't think anyone can really do that I've ever heard of in baseball. And so obviously that like is an incredible feat, and he like rises to superstardom, but then someone wants to take him down. And I think it's a journalist that really just has some vendetta, I suppose. But I think it sounds great. I love baseball books, just anything that kind of incorporates that for me. And it's spring training now. I'm very excited to start, getting back into baseball. And I feel like this book is going to be awesome. This next one was a gift from one of my friends, and this is sort of narrative nonfiction. It's called A Kim Jong-il Production. The extraordinary true story of a kidnapped filmmaker, his star actress, and a young dictator's rise to power. So, like I said, this is nonfiction, which is insane. So it's basically about when Kim Jong-il kind of became dictator of North Korea, he wanted to make lots of propaganda films. But he didn't want to make them with like just any actors. He wanted a particular famous actress from South Korea and her ex-husband who is a really famous filmmaker. But they didn't, want to do this, so they were kidnapped by him and his people. And they were forced to make these films, but they ended up making up some crazy plan to escape and get out of like North Korea and Kim Jong-il's kind of clutches. And that sounds ridiculous, but I I am very excited to read this because it's wild. And that's a true story. I feel like I'm going to have to remind myself throughout this book that it's a true story because it just sounds too crazy to be real. All right, this book was also sent to me by Putnam Books. Thank you to them. And that is Homeseeking by Carissa Chen. This is a chunky one. This is about 500 pages long. So gotta be in the right mood for that. But it's kind of a love story, I guess, that spans like 6 decades, and these two folks who keep meeting each other at different times of their lives throughout like all kinds of events in China, and then they both end up in the United States. And I like that kind of book. I really do, where two people are like living separate lives and keep like intertwining. And I love a good love story that's not truly a romance, but just like there is a romance. But I think this is definitely more historical fiction, and this, I guess, is told in a really interesting way. So the male in the couple, his story is told from the present day going backwards. And the woman, hers is from like the first time they met as children and going in like a normal, timeline. And then I guess we just get a couple chapters in the middle where they're actually at the same time. And this is very similar to a musical that I love, The Last 5 Years, how it is written. And so I think that will be a really cool kind of way to read a story, because we okay, we know how it ends, so how did we get here? So yeah, this one seems like a good pick. The next one is a book that I actually have already read, but I don't own a copy of it, and I decided to pick it for one of my book clubs for February, and that is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. This one really touches on like a lot of issues of like white privilege and race and kind of like white savior complexes, and it's set here in Philly, so that's always fun to read about. I am definitely looking forward to reading it again and kind of seeing what I get out of it this time, because I think I first read it in like 2020. I believe that's when it came out. So yeah, it's been a while and I'm looking forward to revisiting this. Another book that was sent to me by Gallery Books, thank you to them, is called Grace of the Empire State by Gemma Tizard. And this is a really interesting concept for a book. First of all, just this cover like gives me vertigo, like just looking at that. But anyways, so this is about a woman who, it's the Great Depression, and a woman named Grace and her brother Patrick. Their father died, and so they are really struggling to keep the family afloat. And Grace is a dancer, and she was a circus performer. And so she gets laid off from that job. Now her brother Patrick gets a job working on the construction of the Empire State Building, but he gets injured at work. And so they basically have no income. So Grace disguises herself as Patrick and goes to work on the building in his place. I just think this sounds cool. It's definitely a time period that I haven't read much about, like 1930, the Great Depression. So I think that I'm really going to enjoy this, and I love a girl power story, so good one. Next was my book of the month pick for January, A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. This one has kind of been all over the place, so I don't, know if you need a description, but I'm going to give you one anyways. So this is about a woman who is engaged, dating, a man who is super wealthy, and, he comes from a lot of money, and she gets invited to take a trip with him, like, to his family's, like, retreat up in the mountains. And she gets this like sort of feeling that she's been there before, but she doesn't really know. And I think there's like a bit of that whole locked room mystery syndrome, so I'm not sure about that part. I hope I'm wrong and that's not actually how it is. But they she ends up like going to a little cabin nearby and she finds a picture of herself as a child. So she's like, wait, why is this here? What's going on? Whatever. And I guess his family is maybe has something to do with it. I don't know. But yeah, it's been getting kind of mixed reviews. So I haven't read anything by this author. I know a lot of people really enjoy her thrillers. So hopefully, this will be one I enjoy. And I'm kind of just waiting until I feel like I need a nice, like, easy popcorn thriller read. Next, we have The Good Samaritan by Toni Helene. I read another book by this author a few, probably 2 years ago, called The Surrogate that I really liked. So hopefully I will like this one as well. So this is about a man whose like life is kind of falling apart. His son dies, and then his wife divorces him. His teenage daughter abandons him, and he loses his job. Anyways, life's really tough for him right now. So one night he's driving and gets caught in a hailstorm, and he pulls over and sees a child like lying under a tarp, like not doing great. And so, it's going to take way too long for an ambulance to get there, especially in the storm. So he puts the kid in the back of his car and tries to take him to the hospital. But the kid is like, don't take me to the hospital. Don't let the police know. Like, no, 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 no. And so I guess he like takes him to his house because the kid is like the same age that his son would have been if he did not die. And then stuff falls apart, I guess. But I really enjoyed her other book that I read, and again, this is like a nice kind of popcorn thriller, I think, and I think I'll like it. I also have been enjoying, reading books about people dealing with grief, and yeah, so we'll see. Next, we have Help Wanted by Adele Waldman. So this one intrigued me because it is sort of seems to be about a bunch of people who work like shift work at a big box store, and things are not great. The morale is low, whatever. They're all friends with each other, but like it's tough work and underappreciated. And so there's like a promotion available, and all of these team members kind of like band together and like come up with a plot to start a revolution or something. I don't know. I just love books about a bunch of, people coming to like take down the big boss. So anything that has to do with that, I am here for. All right, I think I had mentioned this, earlier when I was talking about some of my goals for the year and some of the apps that I like. But I bought a physical copy of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens because I feel like I've been, using this app called Serial Reader. I talked about it in another video that I will link up above for you. And it really kind of makes the story, it breaks it down into small chunks so it doesn't feel overwhelming. But I guess I wanted to overwhelm myself and buy the book as well. Yeah, I just think this is a book I want to own because it was my dad's favorite book. And so I just, kind of wanted to have a copy, even though I'm not very far into it on Serial Reader, but I am enjoying it a lot. So, I just wanted to have a copy. Next, we have a book that I was sent by William Morrow. Thank you to them. And that is People of Means by Nancy Johnson. She wrote a book I really enjoyed a couple years back called The Kindest Lie. And so I was very excited when I was offered this book. Also, first of all, this cover is incredible. Love it so much. So this follows a woman named Frida, and she is Black, and it's just kind of like, I think, her story in Jim Crow South. It's 1950, and, just kind of, it's rough times. And then it follows her daughter in, I think, 1979. She's very, invested and affected by the Rodney King trial. So she basically, I guess, gets involved to a place where it compromises her career and fallout ensues. So I think this sounds great. Like I said, I've kind of been on a historical fiction kick. So I think I'm gonna really enjoy this and also just enjoy looking at the cover. All right, we've got 2 left, and so we've got Orbital by Samantha Harvey. This one I kind of bought on a whim. It won the Booker Prize, so it can't be bad, right? So I guess this isn't necessarily like a story so much as it is 6 people who were sent into space, and it's kind of just them talking about their what they see, what they feel, and just like their surroundings. It says, profound and contemplative, Orbital is a moving elegy to our environment and planet. So I think that that is gonna be interesting. It's a really, really little book, really short. So I think that would be kind of one to read when you just want to read some pretty writing and maybe don't care as much about a story. And the last book I want to share with you is an advanced reader copy from Nope Books. I never know how to say that. Knopf. Anyways, it comes out in May, and it's called Food Person by Adam Roberts. So this is about a woman who is a writer and she loves food. She writes for a food magazine, and she just is a food person. So she ends up getting like the chance to ghostwrite a cookbook for this actress who's kind of embroiled in scandal. And so, you know, that would be very good for her financially and just, I don't know. So she accepts the offer, but apparently it's like kind of warily. She's not super sure how this is going to go. And it turns out that this actress is a nightmare. And the worst part of all of this is that she doesn't really care about food, but she's writing a cookbook. And I guess it just, you know, kind of follows how she ends up working on this cookbook and becoming friends with the actress, and just kind of how all that plays out. And so female friendship, yay, I love those books. So yeah, this one again comes out in May, and I think it's gonna be really good. I'll make sure I give a review before it comes out. So those are all the books that I have hauled in the last couple months. And of course I have way more on my Kindle that I've collected, but that's okay. There's time for everything, and just so many good books coming out all the time. So hopefully I will get to review some of these and let you know how I felt about them. And if you have read any of these or want to read any of these, I want to know what you think or thought. I want to know about whatever you're reading now, or books that you've recently purchased or been given. Leave me a comment down below, and if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, I would really appreciate it if you would, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!